We're joined by Dr. Joanna Siekiera. She's a NATO consultant and, I'm delighted to say, a regular contributor to TVP World. Welcome back, Joanna.
Thank you very much, my dear friend. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good to see you. So, I want you to put your lawyer's hat on now, Joanna. There have been calls that, asking for the indictment of the Israeli government for the commitment of war crimes in Gaza, based on the deliberate targeting of civilians. Now, I was just wondering, could the same argument be made against the Iranian government, who released 300 projectiles towards Israel, indiscriminately targeting civilians? Luckily they were stopped, but had they not been, it would have been an absolute tragedy. Could the same law have applied to them?
Certainly, you are so right in what you are saying, and we must not forget that Hamas has been equipped by Iran for so many years, for so many decades. Terrorists have been financed by another regime, authoritarian regime being Iran. So, of course, all the tactics they are doing, they are against international humanitarian law, against stability, against any kind of negotiation or peace talks in this area. Any kind of escalation, any kind of fueling up this conflict is anyhow according to international law or rational politics, because yes, experts have been commenting that not so many civilians have been murdered, and if Iran wanted it to be more harmful, it definitely would be. But then again, it's not about killing civilians per se. It's about showing the power, showing to Israel, to its allies, that they are there, and if anything happens, they will not be afraid or ashamed to use all the capacity, even against the law.
Right. Well, so it would seem, and we look forward to hearing the United Nations condemn this and calling it a war crime. Unfortunately, we don't hear much of that unless it's Israel that's being accused.
No, and I don't think that will happen. When it comes to United Nations, there is also China and Russia in the Big Five, and also China is doing a lot of money because of weaponry, because of selling or also transporting from North Korea, because North Korea, ladies and gentlemen, is again top #1 producer of weaponry. They are outside of World Trade Organization. They are not limited by any kind of treaties. So yes, the war is business. It's enormous business. Weaponry is massive, and countries, especially those authoritarian regimes, they get their money from weaponry, unlike our democratic countries who have their own economies, also based by means of military build-up and industry in it. But this is not the main branch of economy. So therefore, I would not hope that United Nations, especially Security Council, would vote for resolution or officially condemn any side of this conflict, because we all see that world is so divided between supporters of this or that part, that I'm very pragmatic here again. UN is losing its points with every war happening. We've been observing, unfortunately.
Yes, well, so many would agree with you there, Joanna. Now, you talk about a polarization. You talk about the autocratic regimes, North Korea, China, Russia. Iran is, of course, a theocratic one, but similar in style. What about on the other side of the coin, the United States? Now, President Biden, on the one hand, says that there's an ironclad guarantee that they will protect and support Israel. On the other hand, they say they don't want a war with Iran. What do you think they're actually saying? What's their policy?
Definitely. First of all, what you said, US and Israel go hand in hand. They are political allies, they are strategic allies, they are civilizational allies. So whatever war will ever to happen, they will always stand side by side. But also, US is not willing to go into war with Iran. Because this is far too dangerous. And I mean, all the supportive sides to Iran being again China. Because again, if the US strike into Iran, then China will be delighted to join. And again, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at the map, there is not only Middle East, there is also Taiwan, and again, possible attack by China. We have Houthis in Yemen, and we have many fronts. So US is very much aware of all of those possible fronts. So they have to be very delicate in expressing any political standpoints, because we are so close to international global war that we are like, no, we should not say directly what we mean. We have to really count our allies, who is with us, who is against us, because again, this is not only regional conflict, this is global conflict because of all those suppliers of weaponry, all those suppliers of authoritarian system versus our democratic Judeo-Christian civilization.
Indeed, and that kind of is connected to what's happening in Ukraine, in the sense that Russia is part of, if you like, that polarized group that we mentioned earlier. Should NATO and European countries in general be on high alert now? Is Russia hoping that the attention is going to be taken away from Ukraine and will push forward with its military objectives in Ukraine? What's your opinion? Should we be worried here as well?
I wouldn't say worried, I would say prepare. We all know this Latin phrase, si vis pacem parabellum. So we must be prepared. We must use all our capacities, capabilities, but not only military, but also psychological operation, public opinion, education. We must be prepared because we've been blind so long. And then 2014, Crimea happened, and then 2022. And we are still debating, should we build up militarily or not? Yes, of course we should, for our own sake, for our own security and stability, even though the war will not spread in Europe, which I hope, because again, understanding Russian mindset, being there in Russia, I know that Russians, the government is not stupid. We want them to think that they are stupid, that they will go against NATO, but they don't want that. They don't need that. And they have their own allies in Asia, including China. China would never openly support Russia, but because this is closer to this communist regime, the regime in Moscow, so of course China and Russia will go hand in hand. So therefore we must be aware of that. We must prepare, but I would not say we must be afraid of war to happen, because we already had similar situation in Moldova with Transnistria and Georgia, where 20% of territory is occupied. So I believe, because I've been in those two countries, that the same will happen to Ukraine, that some part of Ukraine will be under occupation of Russia, while the West, us, we will forget about this war and move on to another conflict.
Right, so many flashpoints and so many areas to be examined carefully. Unfortunately, Joanna, we have to leave it there, but do come and see us again shortly. Have a good evening, and thank you again.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.